welcome all of you in the Millennium Alliance. I love your forum. I love being there in person, and I love the questions and presenting to all of you. So this is a little difficult given the amazing times I've had with you in the past, but hopefully you'll enjoy this session. So I want to introduce my dear friend, colleague, and somebody I admire incredibly, Craig Brommers, who is the CMO, Chief Marketing Officer of American Eagle, one of the leading retail brands in the world today. Craig and I have been associated for quite a number of years just as friends. And recently we came together because, full confession, I am a board member of American Eagle Outfitters. And I was one of the proud interviewers of him as we pursued him for this job. So Craig, welcome to the Millennium Alliance and to our session today.
Hey, thanks, David. Great to be here. I know you've had a great relationship with Millennium Alliance for many years, and I got to tell all of the participants that any time spent with David Sable is time well spent. So look forward to hanging out with you for a half hour.
Good. So let's jump in. I'm going to ignore COVID for now. Usually that's how I start, but we only have a half an hour and we want to get to the meat. So Craig, we all know retail is dead. We all know that, right? Just read the papers. Like every day, it's either dead or it's not dead. It's crazy. The pundits have weighed in, and yet American Eagle stock is going to the sky. Your sales are going to the sky. What gives?
David, I've been in this role for some of the most iconic American retail brands: Gap, Abercrombie and Fitch, Calvin and Klein. I've never experienced a quarter like we've just experienced in our industry, and certainly here at American Eagle as well. And for anyone to say that retail dead, it's just dead wrong. Earnings season has begun. Many retailers putting up eye-popping numbers. We had to pre-announce to the street some of our exciting progress and exciting momentum. And I think this just speaks to the fact that certainly for our Gen Z kid, they want to return to the real world in a way that not only meets 2019, but probably exceeds 2019. And I think that bodes really well for our industry and other industries for the remainder of the year.
So you talked about the rapid return. Just build on that a little bit.
So February, if you and I were having this conversation, I would have been fairly glum. As you know, COVID upticks had kind of been around the country, malls open, but traffic still pretty depressed. I kid you not, second week of March, yes, stimulus affected it, but so did spring breaks. So did the return to live and in-person school for some of our kid. So did the continuing economic progress. We were bonkers in our business. I've never seen anything like it, beating plan by a significant amount day after day, week after week. And that momentum has just continued into the summer season for us. And again, our kid is voting very loudly that they want to get into the real world. They want to buy something ultra feminine, over color, clothes to get back together again. And it's just, again, simply unbelievable and very, very encouraging.
So let's talk about where they're buying. So pre-COVID, you were already making incredible strides online. The business was becoming more and more digital, and yet still had plenty of stores. Comes COVID, stores shut, digital goes up. Everybody's predicting no one will ever go back to a store. You guys open up in incredible ways. And I want you to describe how you opened up, because it was different than I think any other retailer out there. And all of a sudden, the dead malls have traffic going to American Eagle. So
absolutely
let's start pre-COVID and the move, and then tell us what happened.
Yeah, we publicly reported that our sales were 65% physical, 35% digital pre-COVID. To your point, at the height of the pandemic, those sales definitely leaned over into digital, and we were about 55-45 digital to physical. But as our stores opened, and listen, American Eagle and Aerie have always had some of the most energetic retail environments in the mall, and we made sure that that was going to continue. And I actually called us the light and the beacon in the mall, because it felt fun, it felt happy, it felt safe. It felt appropriate for the times, and we were definitely beating store traffic throughout fiscal 20. But as we have dug into 21, traffic trends now are exceeding 2019. And sure enough, the pundits were wrong. Physical stores are a large part of the reason that we are a winner in this retail climate. So digital is still extremely important, still growing, taking nothing away from that, but the return of physical is real.
And how does the shopper balance the physical and the digital? And how do you help them balance that?
Yeah, you know this. The shopper is toggling between their physical and digital worlds on a daily basis, and often that's happening in the physical store as well. She's coming in and saying, "Hey, I saw Addison Rae wear this tiny top. Where is it in the store? Help me." And the associate is helping. So I think what you're seeing, unlike any other time of retail, is this innovation play in where a thought becomes an actionable execution in store in a very compressed time. And the blurring of physical and digital is happening. And because of that, and because of the innovation that our teams have been able to share, the kid knows that it's an experience with the American Eagle brand. It's not an experience in a physical or digital environment.
So I love that. It's an experience with the brand. The brand transcends. Now, I've always been a foe of digital first or mobile first or anything first, just because we live in a digital mobile world. It's sort of obvious. And yet there are retailers and others who still talk that way. That's not the language at American Eagle. You talk about customer first, person first.
Yeah, and David, you've always pushed us to think about insights first, and there's just no doubt that the digital device is the oxygen for our kid, but there's also no doubt that they're the most social creatures among any of the generations, and so it's the blurring of those lines that excites us. And so we've been, curbside pickup and buy online pickup store now seems like old news. Now it's more exciting to do live video shopping from our store. We do events in store again. Imagine that. And kids are coming out and having these beautiful Instagrammable moments with their friends. So it's just this innovation play that I think that the pandemic, trying to keep a glass half full point of view is really helping us accelerate.
What can you share with us about the innovation, the digital innovation in store that sometimes translates outside, but not always? But whether it's bringing clothing to you when you're in the dressing area, whatever it is, like just share some of those things, because some of them are absolutely astounding, and anything new that's coming down the pike that you can share, I think people would love to hear about.
I think the biggest excitement we have is making sure that our store associates feel like local influencers to that particular community. So, we're a brand that has 900 stores, second largest store fleet next to Old Navy, but we don't feel like a big corporate chain. We feel like this is your local American Eagle store. We started this program called My AE, which are store associates who, again, have influence in their market. And whether it's in-store events or styling.
I'm sorry, step back a second.
Yep.
So store associates, also known occasionally as salespeople, but known very much as store associates in the American Eagle infrastructure, who have a following in their market.
That's right. That's right.
So they're not huge. It's not like they have 100,000 people around the country. In their market, where they live, they have a following.
That's right, David. Our philosophy at American Eagle is tops down, bottoms up. We're very proud to work with people like Addison Rae, who have a bajillion followers. But we found just as important is those kids in their local communities that understand, the style trends, the cultural trends, the philanthropic trends that drive their community. And we've really activated them throughout 2020 into 21. And the reaction we're getting, not just from a market share, dollar share, financial perspective, but from a mind share perspective as well. We're really capturing the mind share of these local communities, which to me goes back to this enduring customer experience that we strive for.
So again, the associate does what? So they post from the store?
That's right. Yeah, we've created these studio corners in the store. They curate their picks, their product picks. They publicize their local events again through their social media handles. And kids have been coming in and having these great social moments and getting these stylist tips, getting these very personal experiences. And that's generated a lot of buzz in their community and a lot of buzz on social in these local communities. And has really, again, I think helped us beat the trend of store traffic, and we've continued to build on traffic week over week.
And there are ways that I can remote shop into the store as well.
It's crazy, right? Yeah. So if you still feel like you want a more safe experience from the comfort of your home, you now can do live video shopping with these My AE store associates, and they will, again, walk through the store with you and pick out product that fits your trend, fits your style. And we're in trial mode with 10 stores right now in this program. It's been fascinating. These kids are having so much fun. And again, I think just proves the fact that innovate or die, certainly in my industry, but probably for many of the industries that are represented here on the Millennium Alliance.
And you also have, as I recall, an award-winning app. I mean, as I recall, I use it. You have an award-winning app, which is really easy to navigate and I think is actually pretty spectacular, as well as a really interesting rewards program.
Yeah, and the rewards program, it's called Real Rewards, was launched in June of the pandemic. Timing is everything, but I mean that in a positive way. We've never seen the uptick of a loyalty program as fast as this. And now we're knocking on 70% of our AE purchases are coming from that loyalty program. And so it's a program where we get to know our customer a little bit more. We get to offer them what they want when they want it. And we're getting just, again, terrific feedback from the customer.
So we talked about our local influencers, and you mentioned a very big global influencer. Why don't you share something about the work that you've done on TikTok, Snap? I think there's so much incredible innovation around the marketing that you've done and the stars that you've worked with and how they work with you. And
yeah, David, since I've been in the retail game for quite some time, I have to admit, I have a healthy skepticism of so-called influencers, but TikTok has changed my mind. What our influencers wear on TikTok sells and sells immediately. And again, Addison Rae's probably the biggest example of that. But our sister brand Aerie had one of those viral moments that every marketer wants, but all of us know is not something that you just dial up. We had a no-name influencer wear something called a crossover legging that truly went viral. My high school sophomore daughter, said, "Boy, Dad, you're the smartest marketer on the planet." And I said, "What do you mean, Camille?" But this was really created by someone out in the universe, and this thing now is something that sells out on a regular basis. We literally can't keep it in stock. And so again, this TikTok platform has been a game changer in terms of the ability to drive brand love and brand engagement, but more importantly, truly drive financial results.
And so where are you advertising today? Like how has it changed?
Yeah, we're basically 100% digital now. And again, self-aware that we have a younger Gen Z audience, age 15 to 25, but you just follow the data and that tells you that that's where you should be. And so social is important to us. Some digital publishers are important to us. We certainly have had success also with the Rokus of the world because we know kids are not watching linear TV, but they are streaming. So we're having success there. I think, again, this is one of the most unique and most fun times in terms of media buying. And it's really pushed us from a creative content perspective as well. And we've embraced it. It's been a lot of fun.
So I know a lot of CMOs are often not quite divorced, but not quite married to the system, meaning that they do the CMO thing, but there's a sales group and there's a product group and there's all these other groups. And occasionally they like to talk to the CMO, but not always. I think it's a little different in American Eagle. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, we're really into building true relationships with our external partners. And I take the time and attention to go through every piece of creative with my team. And I think this goes back to, we only have so many levers in this hyper competitive retail world where the big three, Amazon, Walmart, and Target, just keep getting bigger. And brand is the first thing that we have. And then our product quality is right there with it. And so we pay attention to the details. We take time to develop those relationships with the platforms. We take time to go out into the field. I was just out on store visits last week. So I think it's those attention to details for all of us as marketers are important, because this is the time to accelerate your brand, accelerate your business. And again, we pay attention to the details.
There were a bunch of brands that, maybe for good reasons, went to the dark side. Not dark like they stopped talking, but they went to the dark side during the pandemic. Bad time, things weren't good. American Eagle just kept the optimism. In fact, you probably upped your optimism factor.
Yeah, and I think that I mean, I think we stayed true to the brand values for both American Eagle and Aerie. We've always been brands that everyone is welcome and we're optimistic. But we, as you know, have a panel of 2,000 kids that I can ask any question at any time of any day and get a read on something. And it is very clear that mental health has become the number one concern of Gen Z through this pandemic. And just as clear as they wanted someone and they wanted brands to champion the positivity that still existed out in the world. And again, that's not saying that we don't have our head in the sand. There's lots of things going on out there, but we have chosen to embrace the positivity out there. And I think we're getting paid for it, again, from an enduring mind share and market share perspective.
Well, having seen your new photo shoot, I'd say yes. I'd say you're doing an awesome job. So how about purposefulness? Let's talk about purposefulness a little bit, because we hear so much about that. And you did talk a little bit about that earlier, about kids are concerned about things. Kids want to hear more. And yet so much of what we hear about the purposeful world is like a crock of shit.
Yeah.
Sadly. And many, sorry, folks. And many companies just sort of glom on to jump on bandwagons and really have no brand connection to whatever it is they think that they're doing. How do you feel about that? And how have you distinguished the marketing of American Eagle?
Yeah, Dave, I couldn't agree more. I think that marketers should do few things as best as possible, as opposed to the spray and pray mentality. And so we asked our kid, again, going back to consumer insights, what are the causes that are most important to you, and how can our brand engage in those areas? I've talked about mental health. Sustainability is probably the second biggest thing going on out there. Obviously, my industry doesn't have a perfect track record on sustainability efforts. I'm so proud of the progress that American Eagle has made. And again, I think we're getting paid for it. The work that we're doing to make sure that our jeans and other products are made in the best possible way is certainly industry leading. And we're communicating that in a more effective way. We stand very strongly, especially during Pride Month, but honestly, all 12 months of the year for the LGBTQ community. And again, that's something that's very, very authentic to us. And so, we go after those fewer things, and I think we do them really well. And again, our kid is saying that they're connecting with us on that.
Right. And, again, and I'm proud as a board member just to see the things that we've supported, whether it was gun violence and end to gun violence, whether it was, BLM, anti-Semitism, UNICEF. It's just amazing, and it's real because it comes from the associates. So I just want to remind everybody that you can put questions into chat, and we'd love to take your questions. And I see we do have one, Craig, from Justin. He'd love to hear more about the panel of 2000.
Yeah, Justin, I think it's a great question. And I think, again, my encouragement to this community is get as close to your customer as possible. We were feeling like, we do the focus groups and we get the third-party research, but we didn't have as close a connection to really test whether it's a product, whether it's a line, whether it's a cause, whether it's just taking the temperature of what's going on out there. And so we very scientifically went out and found a nationally representative segment of 2,000 of our kids. And I kid you not, and David really knows this because I always am asking this panel because I constantly get questions from my CEO. I constantly get questions from our chief creative officer. And listen, we're in a business in the retail world that it has to be the blend of art and science. So we do a lot of things from our gut, but these kids are the gut check to make sure that we're on the right path. And again, I would just recommend get as close to your customer as possible. This panel has really worked well for us.
So a couple of more questions. Paul is asking about the big three, Walmart, Amazon, and third was?
Sorry, Paul, Target being the other one. All three of them accelerating, obviously, during the pandemic, and all have their place for being in the marketplace. But we think we've carved out space for us to compete for this Gen Z wallet. Again, we are brand led and product led at the end of the day.
Andy was paying attention. He heard you mention Roku, and he's asking, do you even bother with 30-second spots anymore?
Not really, Andy. So, we have large video screens in all of our stores. And so we do have to give longer form content to our stores. But, I'm sure, Andy, you've seen the research, Gen Z has the attention span of a gnat. And so our team spends much more time on 3 seconds, 7 seconds, and then maybe 15 seconds if we're getting crazy than anything to do with 30 seconds. So that's our brand. There's still compelling, longer form content out there. And but again, we found that shorter attention span is certainly something that Gen Z is all about.
So, Craig, as you know, and as we've discussed, I'm all over this note tracking and Apple's new move. And they put, by the way, if you haven't seen it, they have a new commercial out that is really killer. What do you think? How is that going to affect the industry?
You know what? We've spent a lot of time analyzing it before it happened, and we're spending a lot of time analyzing what's happening right now. If you look at the demographic data, Gen Z tends to be more open in terms of their digital privacy than Gen Xers like myself and others. And so I'll be interested to see how much opt-in that those kids have made. But you wrote a very compelling column just yesterday on LinkedIn about the fact that for all of us, this is going to have to go back again to that close connection to the customer and insights. And I think some of it is going to be very refreshing. And I think in some extent, we've turned over too much of the interaction with very lower funnel, very reactive relationships. So I'm excited to see what happens over the course of the coming months.
What fashion trends are you seeing?
I mean, color, and more color, femininity, more femininity. And, sometimes it's better to be lucky than be good. But we are absolutely in a fashion denim cycle where she wants to go out and she is buying 3 to 5 different kinds of fits, both long leg and shorts for the summer season. And we are really struggling to keep some of these fashion fits in stock. I'm not spinning anyone, it's true. And that just shows us that, we are on a new trend that we haven't seen probably since jegging came about, and I'm dating myself when I even say that. That's 10 plus years ago. So it's pretty exciting.
So Khalid is asking, what about interactive ads? Have you tested any Roku, Hulu?
We have, and during Q4, Khalid, we had been out with Roku, kind of pushing ourselves and actually pushing them a bit. We know our kid loves streaming, and we know that they're on Netflix and to some extent Disney Plus. Obviously, those platforms not ad enabled just yet. So Roku has been a great partner of ours. And we have something up our sleeves for the back to school season with Roku. My team would kill me if I told you specifically about it, but it is absolutely all about the school hallways becoming the runway. And we're going to have a really clever interactive experience with Roku in the July and August timeframe.
Innovate or die, right? I love it.
That's right.
So Victor, guys, for all of you listening, please keep the questions going. We have a few more minutes, so this is your opportunity to ask Craig. So Victor's asking about digital insights and data that you're able to give the store associates and how they might, if you do, how they might use that.
Yeah, Victor, we're getting better and better and better at this. And I think the Real Rewards program that I mentioned before, our loyalty program, is really the big unlock. There are different tiers of that program. We know what you've purchased from us before, and so we can enable our associate to more ably make a recommendation for something that they're interested in. And again, I think it just goes back to this thing that Dave and I have talked about this morning, is that close connection to the customer, right product, right time.
Paul, an active questioner, is asking, what do you do to foster client retention expansion after acquisition? So what's the aftermarket?
Yeah, so we have a CRM program that really helps us manage our relationship with the customer. We have insights to, if I can get this customer to buy with us again in the next 30 days, that they're X% more likely to be this type of customer. So we're spending a lot of time on driving retention. In fact, that is really been the strongest rebound of our customer dashboard in the last quarter or so. And listen, I'm very lucky as a marketer because we have the best damn jeans in the business at a really compelling price point. And so sometimes our jeans are the best retention vehicle out there.
All right, here's a good one from Jeremy. I love this one because I think you're just gonna blow this one out of the water. We hear more and more that branding is just performance media with a longer look back. Do you agree?
Guys,
How does AE view branding in your mix? Whoa.
Yeah, I love the provocative question, Jeremy, but I'm going to have to violently disagree that branding isn't an important part for the retail community out there, and certainly for us here at American Eagle. And I'm going to reference our sister brand, Aerie, again. Aerie absolutely has a compelling product offering, but there is no doubt that that brand would not be the most successful growth retail brand in North America if it weren't for that brand. And that started with the insight of no retouching on real women and celebrating that community. And the rest is history. So, again, I'm a strong believer that brand first, customer first. This is a really important part. And of course, you want to get performance media right, but you got to get the brand right first.
Tell us about, and we really have time only for another question or two, but I'm curious about things that you learned during COVID, rapid change that happened. A lot of companies are talking about this, acceleration of change, but that are now going to become standard operating procedure because actually they turned out to be really good ideas.
Yeah, I think one of the most compelling things is honestly our promotional strategy. And I know it may not sound that sexy, guys, I'm sorry, but our industry has made very bad choices throughout many years on the addiction to promotion, and all of us have pulled back significantly, and all of us are reporting just eye-popping profitability numbers. And again, I think it goes back to, if you have a compelling brand, you have a compelling product, that people are willing to pay a fair price. And so I think that's something that I hope sticks with us in the near future.
And I think you'd probably also have a word or two to say about the very notion of even inventory control, better understanding your customer so that you had what they want and weren't spending as much on what they really don't want. It ends up being marked down at the end, which gets back to your whole promotional thing.
Absolutely, David. I think we've really rolled up our sleeves and understood, the different tiers of stores and different communities and what drives the business and what our kid is looking for. And I think because we did that work during the height of the pandemic, we're getting paid off now. And we expect that momentum to continue into our all-important back-to-school season.
So Jay is asking, in this world of data overload, does over-relying on data take one's eye away from the large brand picture?
Yeah, I think it's about data insights, not data reliance. And so we are always trying to push ourselves here at American Eagle is to take a step back, exhale for a moment. What is the big picture here? What's this telling us? Because that will help us drive it, as opposed to a quick reaction to some eye-popping number that comes across my email or my text throughout the day. And that's what I would recommend to this crew here.
So I think we've sort of come to the end here. So let me ask one final thought of you. Tell us, what should we go to the store and buy, and what should we be looking for? Which are the best jeans? And by the way, I love American Eagle jeans, and this is no joke, folks. I wear them. They're amazing. What should we look for? How should we fit? And how are you going to make that easy for us?
We have found that when someone tries on these jeans, they become customers for life. To answer your question on what's happening right now for female, there's no doubt that the mom jean trend is the hottest trend out there. But take a look at our 90s boyfriend, and also the flare. The flare is back in a big way. So those are the three if you're shopping for the females in your life. And on the men's side, two things that are happening out there: comfort and stretch. So if you're out there, take a look for a jean that stretches and is a little bit more forgiving. And the second is our athletic fit, for, I guess, all the guys that have been on the Peloton or whatever it is during the pandemic are just blowing out. So that's something for the guys. So I hope you enjoy that free pair of jeans on us at American Eagle.
I can honestly tell you that this stretch are the most comfortable jeans you've ever worn, and they're soft and they're amazing. And I defy you to put them next to a $300 pair of jeans. I swear this is true. And if you can tell the difference, send me an email, because you can't. Trust me on this one. Anyways, thank you so much, Craig. This was great. I'm sure that everybody who's listening took away as much as I did. It's always wonderful to talk to you, even though I do talk to you quite a lot. But in a forum like this, it really is amazing. Again, this is David Sable for the Millennium Alliance. So happy to be here with all of you, and I look forward even more to seeing everybody in person, and hopefully have a chance to do another session with you, this time live. I want to thank my good friend, associate, colleague, and inspiration, Craig Brommers, the CMO of American Eagle, for spending this time with us and for sharing his great insights. And based on the response, it looks like all of you agree. Craig, thank you. Keep killing it. Everybody enjoy your jeans, and let Craig and the world know how much you like them. So with that, stay safe, stay well, and thank you all for listening.